All right, all right, all right. Welcome, you loyal listeners, to another episode of Agents Influence Podcast, conversations with me, Jason Cass. And you know, Cass Dog always wants to let you know behind the scenes really what's going on. This is actually the second time that I've done the podcast here with Mr. Jacob Simon. And the reason we had a little bit of an issue is we already did this. I mean, it was already off the charts, going to be worldwide #1, international like Jay-Z. And my team hit me and said, Jason, it sounds like shit. Like your side sounds like crap. We can't fix it. And so I told Jacob, I said, it's I don't know. It's just like taking, the tiles of the 10 Commandments and just crushing them. I mean, it was that impactful of the podcast we had for you loyal listeners. But I went and found him again, and I said, Jacob, we need to recreate the magic. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Jacob Simon, CEO of Adapt API. How you doing, brother?
Doing well. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no problem. I always have to stop and say Adapt, because for some reason, you know this, I always want to say AI. I just want to always say that, but it's not
time.
AI.
Yeah,
it's API, Jason. That's I'm AI.
Yeah, everyone does it. So
it's all right. We're good.
Makes
us think about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a new API and stuff. So hey, everybody. Long story short, Jake and I met out at ITC InsurTech Connect. We actually met before that. That's where we met face to face. But we talked before that. He reached out to me. He said, Cass, I got some awesome things that I want to talk to you about. He really wasn't talking to me specifically yet about my insurance agency, even though we use this product in our agency now. He was talking to me more about the fact of what he could do for the VE company, okay, virtual employee. And I'm going to tell you right now, he's not a sponsor. He doesn't give us his services for free. We don't get a discount. If you buy, I don't make any money. There's none of that here, loyal listeners. I'm just bringing him strictly on because we use him in our agency. And when I saw what he did, I personally told him, I said, I will do everything in my power to help you get your name out to as many agents, because agents need to see and understand what you're doing. So there. Everybody knows now, disclaimer. And I'll also let you know, because my loyal listeners, you guys tell me this stuff. It's February 28th, approximately 10:33 in the morning Central Standard Time. Jacob, welcome to the podcast, man. Really glad to have you.
Yeah, no, it's awesome to be here. And I appreciate all that intro and stuff. And it is very true. You said exactly that when we first met, and you've been doing it ever since. So I really appreciate it. Yeah.
And I know people in the mastermind are using you, champions are using you. And when I say using you, they're using your services, and let's just say they're using your bots, right? That's what we like to call them. Mm-hmm. So Jacob, you inside our agency, you do something for us called RPA. Explain to the loyal listeners what this is. I mean, they had to learn what APIs were, and then this AI technology shit and ChatGPT. Yeah. So now I need you to tell them about RPA, okay?
Yeah. No, there's always a new acronym. But yeah, RPA, which stands for Robotic Process Automation, is a very vague term, which basically just means you use software to do your work for you, right? And so you have a website or an application on your desktop that has a bunch of buttons you got to click to, update a client, to do these kind of, basic data entry type tasks. And you can actually teach the software to do that for you. So if every day you're saying, hey, every morning I wake up and go to my email and then have to open this folder and then drag something into it, well, you can actually have software do that for you, and then you can go and do better things with your time. And so it's really that simple.
Boom, boom. So so the more archaic you are, I'm talking to my loyal listeners, the more you need him, right? Now, everybody needs it, but this is the way that I see it in my head, loyal listeners. You got the people that are just archaic and they're analog still, right? Then you got the people who are kind of in the middle. They're kind of doing analog, kind of do some digital, and then you got the full digital over here, okay? So, and when we say digital, loyal listeners, let's think of download, right? So think about the fact that some carriers download and some don't. There's some of you guys, seriously, Jacob, about 50% of you don't even use download in your management system. I'll tell you right now, I don't know how you operate. And when you do, it's got to be really stressed out. But for those of you that don't, you still need to be able, there's things that you do every day in your agency that if it requires going to a portal or going somewhere, Jacob has the software that says you don't have to do that anymore. We'll train our bots to do it, and they'll do it. Give me an example, Jason. Glad you asked, loyal listener. Let's say that you need to go check your claims. I mean, I hope you're at least doing that. And if you're not, it's probably because you're understaffed, and this is why you need Jacob. So every morning you have somebody go to each one of the carriers and look and see if they have any claims out, or what's the updated status on the claims. Has there been any new ones? Has there been any closed? Blah, 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 blah. And then they make that. I'm going to tell you, by answering the phone and doing that, that's probably a 20, 30-minute task. Then maybe, I mean, there's more involved there, but easily doing that. You, with Jacob, your employee comes to the office, they look at their email, and they have an Excel sheet, and all that shit's in there. Mm-hmm. They've been at work 1 minute. It's done. Jacob, where am I wrong on that?
No, you're exactly right, and that's one great example. And you mentioned going and looking for them is one thing. Then if you want to get them out, right? Okay, then you're finding the export, trying to merge 5, 10 different reports together so that the fields all line up. So that you can then go and actually do the thing you need to do with it, right?
Right.
And that's claims, that can be pending cancellations, that can be any number of these different notifications that you're going and checking for on a regular basis. And it's just an incredible amount of time just to get the information in a standard format to then actually do the thing you need to do, right?
Right.
And so what we're saying is, hey, don't do that pre-work before you do the work, right? We can do that for you, and then you can actually focus on the thing that is adding value, that is kind of necessary for the agency.
I mean, it's that simple, guys. You're listening to this podcast right now, and you're going, "All right, Cass, seriously, bro." So there's these these bots that go around, dude. Yeah, I'm being dead serious, and they do that for documents, and they do that for claims, and they do that for cancellations. Listen to me, cancellations, right? You're learning this stuff. And here's the thing: how awesome is it when you get some agents, when you get your mail in the mail from the carrier, and it says cancellation notice, right? And then you go to your management system. You already know about it. Why? Because your bot told you 6 days ago. In the meantime, the horse with the wagon was carrying the mail to your spot, dude. All right? The bot's already freaking knew before your people even woke up. It's why am I even getting mail? I've got bots. That's really what I'm thinking to myself anymore, Jacob. Why do I get mail? The horse has been taken over by the damn bot. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So yeah, it only took a couple hundred years, right?
Yeah, easy now, easy. Don't beat it up too bad, Jacob. But no, it does. And loyal listeners, I'm being funny about it, but I'm being serious. I own an agency. I do what you do every day, and I understand that this stuff is unbelievable. I remember Sarah said to me the first time we put the bot in place, she got it the next day. She's like, I really don't think this is very valuable. And I was like, oh, really? It's not very valuable. It's not very valuable. So Sarah, please tell me why this is not valuable, And I won't go on with the whole conversation, but the things that she was saying was true from her point of view of what she knew. Ask her that 2 weeks later. No, the bots has a lot of value, right? And it was also that she helped us understand. She says, Jason, I work hard on our downloads, right? This is what she said, Jacob. She's like, well, I work hard on our downloads, and be honest with you, the bots do a lot of the stuff the download does. And I said, but wait a minute. We also know that there's a bunch of carriers that, yes, they download, but they don't download claims, right? Yes, they download, but they don't do eDocs, right? Yes, they download claims, but they don't do eDocs, right? Yes, they do eDocs without this or that. Then we have some carriers that don't do any download.
Yep.
So really, if you think about it, there's actually more work that needs to be done due to non-download than there is the work that's download. Download's only filling 20, 30% of the pie.
Yeah. And no, Jason, it gets worse than that, because it's not just those things you mentioned. It's also lines of business, right? So some lines of business do and some don't, even within the same carrier. So you might say, oh, I think I'm getting download because you're getting, you saw an auto cancellation come in, but it turns out they don't download home, right? Or they don't download eDocs for home, or they don't download claims for home. And so because it's so fragmented, even with some big name carriers, we see missing notifications because it isn't across the board. And so what we can do is kind of fill those gaps, right? So even for the carriers that do have some download support, especially, like you mentioned, eDocs and messages where there's a little bit less coverage, we can kind of fill those gaps and make sure you're not missing things. Because at the end of the day, missing that cancellation, missing those claims, those are the things that really come back to bite you.
At the end of the day, you go to these loyal listeners, you go to these meetings like I do, and you listen to these agents who are like, well, yeah, we go and we check our claims, every one of our downloads, we go and verify our downloads, and they're doing all this stuff, and you're thinking to yourself, where in the holy shit are they finding the time to do all this stuff, right? Like a lot of times, I remember when I was selling insurance, sometimes you'd be on the phone selling a policy and the customer would ask you about another type of policy and you didn't even really want to ask them their information because you're thinking, where am I going to get enough time to even do another damn quote, right? That's what we're getting to the point. Mm-hmm. This is how this is happening, though, guys. It used to be that you paid $40,000, $60,000 a year for someone to do this. And this is the reason why you are not a bad agency owner, because you're not doing all this stuff that they tell you at E&O class you should do. You're doing what you can do based on what you can afford, based on the labor and job market and what it costs to have people do a certain task. In walks Jacob Simon. Now, just in the last 10 minutes of you hearing this, you see why his girlfriend loves him, because you're falling in love with him too, aren't you, loyal listeners? You are. You're falling in love with him because this is the kind of stuff that has to be done. And then I'm not going to say, because I really do not know Jacob. I really do not know. But loyal listeners, I have an agency of a little shy of under $1 million in revenue. Now, it depends on transactions and it depends on a lot of things, but your bill could be anywhere between 100 to would it be okay to say 500 a month? Hell, it could be 2,000 a month. It depends on what the hell ever you want it to do. But folks, it's not expensive. It'll blow you away when you see how economically friendly this is. Anything to add to that, Jacob?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. The way that we price, the reason why Jason's giving such a wide range is we basically just charge you for the work that we do on your behalf, right? So, if the agency is, smaller or mid-size, you're going to pay less. And for a much larger agency, you're going to pay more, but it's always going to be, equal to the amount of work that we're doing for you, right?
Correct.
And so the way we usually like to talk about it, think about it, is in terms of the ROI, the return on investment, right? For each dollar you put into us, how much are you getting back, right? And agencies usually see at the least kind of like 4x. So for each dollar they put in, they get 4 back. But usually they're in $6, $7, $8, $10, right, back for that $1 they put in, right? And so, and more importantly, they free up that time, right? So if you could give your servicing team an extra, 30 minutes, hour a day, right? Think about how many things they could do that would add more value to the agency, right? Instead of just moving documents, moving notifications from one system to another. And so that's really where you start to see this start to kind of compound. And that's why it's such a kind of like valuable tool for a lot of the agencies that we work with.
Well, and it's daunting, right? Because like if I said to somebody, hey, I need you to make sure that any new notifications, any new documents, any new cancellations, any new claims, I want you to go to every one of your companies and get that every day. And if you don't do it, I need you to start doing it. See? So there's two different types of agencies. There's the agency who says, we already do that and we could save time. Right. Mm-hmm. And then there's another agent who's looking at it and saying, wait a minute, this is something that we could add to the plate and not cause any time. Right. Two different areas that we're seeing there, loyal listeners. And you need to figure that out, because I know you think to yourself, agency owner, that, oh, there's just another thing I got to do. No, like you call Jacob, he comes, gets with your team, they do some things. It's a very easy setup. The next day he says, okay, you're going to start getting shit, and you just start getting shit. And then what we do is we have VEs take that information and then put it into our management system. That's why I'm not there yet, loyal listeners. But I would say with the help of Jacob and Ivans and VEs, I am doing everything I can to create a good data in, good data out management system where shit is updated. And my whole goal to do this, so everybody knows, Jacob and my team knows, is we're going to Donna. We want to get on Donna, which is going to be able to analyze our book of business and our renewals and everything. And to have that, I got to have the data. And a lot of times I know agencies that have Donna and it's doing great things for them. But I'm also thinking to myself, well, you're not figuring in the data of all your carriers that don't download, right? You're not figuring all that in there because you're not doing it. And that's why when we have it, we want it to be all encompassing from all of our carriers. And Jacob, you're a huge part of that. I mean, Ivans is giving us like 40 to 50% of the information, and you're probably giving us 20 to 30% of the information that has to,
Yeah, no, and that's a great point, right? This kind of like the quality of the data is the foundation, right? And anything else that you want to build relies on that. Whether that's, to your point, any kind of AI, like some of the like really interesting insights that Donna can produce for you. Just even simple reporting, right? You just want to know what's the status of my agency today. If you don't have the base level data in there and up to date, then you can't even know that, right? And so we kind of help solve that part of the problem, so that you then can go do lots of other things on top of it. And we really see ourselves as kind of like that first layer, that first step. And there are lots of other things that are kind of being unlocked on top of it. And yeah, you did mention the setup thing. I think that's important to emphasize, because I know, implementing new technology can sometimes be weeks long, months long, just like a huge investment, and things fall apart in that time, right? And so there's a little bit of aversion to trying something new because you think, hey, it's not even going to get off the ground. But as you mentioned, it's really quick and painless. We're talking 30 minutes to get entirely set up. There's no ongoing setup. And the next day, like you mentioned, you start getting data. It's that simple. And we really tried to be thoughtful about kind of plugging into agency workflows the way they exist today. So we can send things to your email. For agencies that are getting like a little bit creative with things like Zapier, we can plug into that, right? So there's a lot of different ways that you can get the data, depending on what works best for your agency. And that's really important to us, to make it kind of fit as seamlessly as possible. So you don't have this, long training process. You don't have to get your team on board. Hey, here's a new, tool you have to learn, all these different things that there's going to be resistance to, and the whole like process around. We try and cut as much of that out as possible, so you can sign up, get started, and get the value, all within a day or so.
It's important to know. Loyal listeners, I'm telling you, Jacob, where can they find you? Tell them anything that you want to tell them before we get off here.
Yeah. So you can find me. The adaptinsurance.com is our website, so that's always a good place. You can just shoot me an email directly. I'm responsive. You can hit me up at any time. Jacob, JACOB at adaptinsurance.com. So shoot me an email, and happy to chat there, set up a call, walk through kind of the product in a little bit more detail, and then. I think we're going to do something a little bit special for the loyal listeners, Jason.
All right. What are we doing?
Well, like I mentioned, this is at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're really kind of like giving back time, right? And each of these notifications we pull is about a minute of your staff's time that they're kind of like saving. And so what we're going to do for the loyal listeners is give you back 600 minutes. Okay, so that's 10 hours of your agency's time, free. All right. Wow. 10 hours. And I know your staff, Sarah is an absolute killer. Your whole staff is really, stellar, right? And think about what they can do in 10 hours. And for all the people listening, think about what your team could do with an extra 10 hours. And we're going to give that to you for free. Here's the catch. The only thing is, it's only available until, let's call it, this will probably come out in the middle of March. Let's say it's available to the end of March. Okay, so come talk to me, sign up by the end of March, and we'll give you 600 notifications. That's 600 minutes of your team's time, absolutely free.
Yeah. End of March. So that we get good, so that we make sure it's official and no one gets mad. 14 days from the day that this thing went live, right?
Oh yeah. Let's do that.
So let's just do that. That's 2 weeks from the day it went live. So if someone's listening to this and they're like, "Oh, is it still in the time period?" Go look and see when this thing was produced, and then add 2 weeks. If you're in there, you're going to get it. And I bet you, if you call Jacob and say, "Hey, lie and say that you're Jason Cass's best friend or something," he might still go ahead and give it to you. I don't know, but he might check, and then when he checks, I'm going to be pissed that you said that. But it's worth a try. It's worth a try.
No risk, no reward, right?
Yeah, that's right. So, Jacob, appreciate you very much for that offer. That is freaking sweet, dude. And I think some of the champions in the mastermind are going to be jealous about that. That is sweet. I really do appreciate you giving that to the loyal listeners, because they deserve it. They have to put up with me. So thank you very much.
Of course.
What's amazing, loyal listeners, as I wrap up here, is when you think about the word adapt API, and not so much at API, let's just think of the word adapt. I like the word adapt. You know why I like the word adapt? I like the word adapt because it's a word that people don't realize has been twisted to mean something that it doesn't mean. And let me give you an example. The strongest survive. The most intelligent survive, right? These are the things that, like, we've been told, like, only the strongest survive, only the fittest survive, these type of things, right? And we say that, and then we back it up and say, well, Darwin said it. Darwin said something just like that. And And to be honest with you, he did say something just like that. But actually what he said, which is amazing, is he says it is not the strongest that will survive, nor the most intelligent that will survive, but those who are able and most willing to adapt, is what Charles Darwin actually said. He never said survival of the fittest. He said those able and most willing to adapt. What does that mean for you, loyal listener? Here's the good news. The good news is if you're a 5-person location, or if you're a 5-person, one person, if you have one location, 5 people, or let's say you have one location, you have 100 people, or you have 500 people, understand that if you are that agent and it's just you and your location and your 5 people, and you're looking down the road at that agency that has 100, according to digital Darwinism, the strongest does not win. The intelligent does not win. The biggest does not win. It is those who are willing and able to adapt are those who will win. It's easier for you as a 5 to 10 person agency to adapt to something than a 100-person agency. Why do I tell you that? This is Jacob Simon of Adapt API, and this is a huge way for you to start giving the things on the customer experience to your customer that they've been needing. Or this is a way for you to save up in free time for your people who have been giving that customer experience by doing it the old way. Call Jacob. AdaptInsurance.com. Adapt is a key word. Strongest of the fittest never did it. My name is Jason Cass. I do what I do because I do it for you. Tell me your thoughts and tell me your ideas, and I'm going to tell the world what you have to say. This has been Jason Cass. He's Simon. We're adapting. We're out. See ya.